I've been a professional wrestler now for a little over 6 years. I started training to be a wrestler and wrestling when I was 18 and still a senior in high school. So this is one of those classic stories of, since I was 9 years old, I knew that pro wrestling was something I wanted to be a part of, which is why I started training when I was in high school. College was never an interest to me, or anything else for that matter. I knew pretty much right from the gate that pro wrestling was what I wanted to do. I used to go to all these independent shows locally around Philadelphia, New Jersey, sometimes New York City. And I actually started going to Combat Zone wrestling shows. At the time they were running the famous ECW arena in South Philadelphia. It was a classic scenario behind the ECW arena. Lots of times a lot of the fans would sit there and wait to meet some of the guys. And DJ Hyde at the time was the head trainer, and he happened to walk out. And for whatever reason, I built up the courage to tell him, I said, hey, when I graduate high school someday, I really want to train to be a wrestler. And he really caught me off guard because he looked me right in the face and he goes, well, why don't you want to wrestle now? And I said, well, DJ, I don't really have all the money right now, and I don't know if my parents would let me train Monday through Thursday, driving 2 hours there, 2 hours back, while I was still in high school. And he said, well, I'll make a deal with you. He goes, if you can only make it down 1 day a week, you can come down and try out. And he goes, and I'll work with you on money as long as the eventual fee is paid off to the fullest. He goes, you can come down and train with us. So at that very second, I was sold. Just the idea of getting the chance to be in a wrestling ring excited me so much. So that was how I started training at the CZW Wrestling Academy. I think the biggest thing for me was the mindset of never stop learning and do everything that I possibly can to succeed. Because I think in pro wrestling, if you even have an inkling of a chance at success, you have to make this your #1 priority under every single circumstance, especially for a guy like me who's 5'10", 200 pounds. I'm not a very big guy. I don't have any family members who are wrestlers. So I knew from the very beginning that if I wanted to succeed, I had to give this 100% under every single circumstance. Even at the beginning, I would go to every show that I could and help set up the ring, help tear down the ring, watch every match with just a very intent eye to constantly learn. And I think that's a big part of my success. I think just that never-ending gain of improvement or understanding of needing to improve, which is something I still feel to this day. It's huge. Again, there used to be a misconception, I think, that training to be a pro wrestler or doing professional wrestling was something that was easy. Kind of anybody can do it. But there's something that all of us talk about now, and that's being in ring shape. There's a completely different aspect to doing cardio or doing other sports and thinking that you can go into professional wrestling and it'll be an easy job, it'll be a cakewalk. But the more that you wrestle, obviously, you realize how important your conditioning is, because there's so many different aspects that go into it being a performance sport. You're trying to entertain the people, you're acting, and at the same time you're working very, very hard like an athlete. It's a completely different animal other than any other form of sport or any other form of entertainment. So being an athlete is crucial to being successful in wrestling. It's changed my life. Not only as a professional wrestler, but as a man. I remember my first tour of England. I was 20 years old, and I was there for 2 months. And me going over there and having no idea how to get there, no idea who I was meeting, was such an intimidating experience. And then realizing I was going to be away from home for that long, that was something I'd never experienced before. And I was with these, 30, 35-year-old men who've been doing this for years. So that was something really intimidating to me, but I learned so much. Like for example, I worked for Brian Dixon the first time I went over in England, and wrestling every single night, sometimes twice a day. It felt like the old territory days. It was really, really cool, and getting to travel all up and down the country. And that was really instrumental in my growth. And just, again, going to all these different countries, working all these different styles, and meeting all these different people is something that I hold as very, very special, not only in my career, but in my life. For me, some of my favorite opponents have been Kyle O'Reilly. Me and Kyle have such a storied history together. I mean, we both came into Ring of Honor at the exact same time. We were a team as Future Shock, which was awesome for me because me and Kyle were so intimidated and so afraid to be a part of Ring of Honor because that was our goal. That was where we wanted to end up. So it was really neat to be able to share the pressure with Kyle and go out there and kind of grow and succeed together and see that we were slowly moving up the ladder, that we got to share that together. That was awesome. And now I'm at a point where I happen to be wrestling Kyle O'Reilly quite a bit. and he's just one of the best in-ring technicians, one of the best in-ring performers I've ever stepped into the ring with. Another guy that steps out into my mind is Sami Callihan, now Solomon Crow in NXT. He was a guy instantly that I just had instant chemistry with, and he taught me a lot about storytelling and pacing of matches and the way to carry yourself like a star, because Sami is one of those guys in the independents that when you saw Sami Callihan and you saw the way he performed, he was different from everybody else. And he really put that into my mind about how important that was to be successful. So I owe a lot to both of those guys as far as my growth in wrestling goes. Well, first of all, Team Suplex is something that I'm very, very proud to be a part of, because it's something I believe in. And the one thing that all of the members of Team Suplex share is we all feel the exact same way. I look at, me and Zack Sabre Jr. have a storied history together, because he was actually the first guy that I ever wrestled on my first overseas tour. And I had heard just awesome things about Zack, and I was so excited to get into the ring with him. And we had a really great match together. And now to see how well he's done and how I've progressed, it's kind of like a cool mutual journey that we've been on together. And Zack Sabre Jr. is just one of the absolute best that Europe has ever produced. Dave Mastiff is one of the best big men that I've ever seen perform, not only in Europe, but literally all over the world. This guy can do it all. He's very exciting in the ring. He works very hard. And just talking to him personally, I know how much he cares and how passionate he is about wrestling. As far as Devitt goes, me and Devitt have never actually met before. But the cool thing is we've communicated in some cases, whether it be through other people, or we keep up to date with what the other one's doing on social media. And obviously, I mean, you can't say enough great things about Devitt. The guy has done tremendous things in Japan. He's a guy that a lot of people are inspired by. He's a guy that a lot of people look up to, and just a tremendous athlete, and it's great that he's a part of our team. I said from the beginning of my wrestling career that I was not going to set very long-term goals for myself, and the reason being for that is I think sometimes guys can get wrapped up in this idea of where they want to end up and who they want to be and what championship they want to win or what company they want to work for. And in reality, in professional wrestling, there are a lot of things that you can't control. But the things that I can control is making sure that I improve and get better with each and every weekend, each and every performance, each and every week in the gym, training like an athlete, performing like an athlete. So for me, I would just love to continue to travel the world. I would love to continue to keep growing. Right now, like I said, I'm the current Ring of Honor World Champion. I want to make sure that this championship reign is the best that it possibly can be. And wherever my wrestling career takes me, regardless of that, I'm enjoying the journey. When I was 9 years old and I sat in front of my television screen and said, I want to be a pro wrestler, sometimes it's nice to sit back and kind of smell the roses and say, I followed through with my dream, I'm doing what I love to do, and as long as I work hard and give it 100%, that's all you can really ask for. Suplex has done an amazing job at growing at such a very, very quick rate. I think a lot of it is a team effort, which is the same for pro wrestling or the same for a pro wrestling organization. If you have a group of people that believe in what it is and believe of where it could go, growth is inevitable. And I think it's the same for Suplex. A lot of people have been talking a lot about it. A lot of people are interested in it. And I think it's something different. I think it's very important that Team Suplex continues to utilize and continues to express and showcase that we as pro wrestlers, we're great athletes. Even though we're entertainers and even though we're performers, there's a lot of hard work that we put into our training, into our diets, into moving forward. And I think that's an untapped thing in pro wrestling that people have really touched on. But since it started, more and more people are talking, more and more people are interested. So I see nothing but good things for Team Suplex.